This week, we have an NBA icon, a Jacksonville, Florida native. We're talking to the guy who turned the world on its head with a no-look jam during the 1991 NBA All-Star Dunk Contest. Boston Celtic great, Dee Brown.
Let's go.
My favorite flavor, listeners know I'm out here in Hawaii. I love pineapple. Put it in everything. Now UCAN has a new Pineapple Edge packet gel, perfect for when I'm running my marathon here in Kauai pretty soon. I'm going to put a couple of those pineapple flavors in my paqueto so I can stay hydrated, but really tastes amazing. Rip, it also, you know what they say about pineapple? Yeah, that's right, Rip. It does do that as well. So a couple added benefits, man. We got a link where we can send people to get the new product.
Pineapple, orange, DK, all these Edge products are delicious. I use them on my runs. You can go to ucan.co/1STAR. Use the code 1STAR at checkout. You get 20% off plus free shipping, DK. Deal of the century. ucan.co/1STAR.
Stay hydrated on your runs. Get your gel on, and you know what pineapple does. You can. Check it out. Yo, aloha. Welcome to the One Star Recruits podcast. I'm DK. I'm joined, as always, with my best friend of 25 years, Rip. We're a couple one stars who, like you, we're on this journey of life. We're learning, loving, and getting better every day with the help of some five-star athletes, entertainers, coaches, celebs, blog writers, badass Twitter followers. Basically, we're well-rounded in this podcast at this point in time. Rip, we've mastered the art of getting a guest from an area and matching it up with a couple experts beyond ourselves. And it's been a beautiful thing. Rip, how you doing, brother?
I'm doing great, DK. Yeah, we've been doing this all summer, kind of doing a tour of the U.S. and honing in on specific teams and athletes. But I don't know, DK, correct me if I'm wrong, but this might be the first time we've had an actual doctor on the episode. Is that right?
Yeah, we're mixing it up a little bit. We kind of got a renaissance man, if you will, to kick off our Boston extravaganza here. We got Justin Quinn. He runs the Celtics Wire. Justin, what's up, brother? Welcome to the pod.
Hey, thanks. Not too much. Enjoying Mexico City.
Yeah, you're in Mexico City. You're a doctor. I'm gonna get there. I know you went back from some Yukon Huskies to some Boston Celtics fanship in the 90s. But let me ask you this: Dee Brown put the Reebok pumps on the map. Did you have a pair of Reebok pumps, Justin Quinn?
I did not. I had Converse Weapons of Larry Bird.
Dang, nice 90s shoot. Rip, what were you rocking? British Knights? Was that your kick of choice in the 90s?
I always loved the BKs. I think I had those old Jordan 3s, like when they first came out too. I don't have them anymore, but I had them back then.
Oh yeah, the Jordan 3s. You're stylish at that stage in your lifetime. It was a great area for kicks. It was a great era for dunking. Unfortunately, the early 90s wasn't the greatest time for Boston Celtics basketball. But coming full circle to now, here we are, 2022. We might have one of the best young teams in the NBA. Doing so many good things, and we're going to get to it. But Justin, I got to peel back. Let's backtrack here. Let's backtrack a little bit. Sure. You're checking in from two things I'm very interested in. We're checking in from Mexico City, a very popular place right now for a lot of people. I'm reading articles, people moving down, and actually Mexico City is getting a little bit too yuppified, if the word is now I'm hearing from people coming down for cheaper rent and more culture. What brought you to Mexico City?
Well, I actually did my PhD research on a train that is called the Maya train and is located in Yucatan, but you can't study a train in Mexico unless you go to the federal capital to study where they are planning and overseeing it from. So I came here and I had an OkCupid dating profile, and just to be ethical on it, I put, you probably shouldn't contact me if you see me in your city because I won't be here very long, but my wife ignored it, and here I am 5 years later.
Oh, it's a love story. It's a love story. Cool, brother. Well, it's great having you with us. The blog, the site for the Boston Celtics. Quick rundown of how that came to fruition. The Celtics Wire. Give us the elevator pitch on that.
Oh, that's easy. That's actually connected to my degree as well. I'm an anthropologist, and when I did dissertation writing, just for fun on a couple of local sites, for like fans of the Celtics have probably come across them, I would do write-ups of whatever like interested me at the time, just as a warm-up to dissertation writing, because it's, no offense to sports writing. Sports writing can be very difficult and very involved depending on what the topic is, but the vast majority of it is just like, these are the players who are playing, these are the days that the games are, these are what we think are going to happen, etc. And for me at least, it was a good warm up to some more dense and focused kind of writing than you usually see in the NBA sphere. So
interesting, cool shit. Rip, you hear that? Rip writes our copy for social and some other copy. Rip, you need a better warm up, bro. You need to talk about DeAndre Ayton a little bit more in your warm ups before we hop right into it. It's great advice. Justin's dropping all these gems.
I need to start taking some advice from the Celtics wire, man, from an actual PhD here.
Yeah, that's great, man. That's amazing. Well, let's dig right in. Looking back on history in that run in the 90s when Dee Brown did play for the Celtics, it was a tougher time. And Justin, I'm going to loop it over to you. You're an anthropologist. You're a Boston Celtics, one of the best writers out there. What can history tell us about maybe what we might see in the future in Boston Celtics land?
Well, this is me talking about what I think I see in the front office compared to what we've seen in the past. Danny Ainge, who you guys have some familiar with in the role of an executive and a coach, I believe also his protege, Ryan McDonough as well. You can beat yourself, right? You can be a very good general manager and then have things beyond your control cascade out of control to create situations that become untenable. And that's really, in my opinion, the reason why Danny Ainge, for example, is no longer the GM of the Boston Celtics. That's because he made some gambles on some win now moves with Kyrie Irving that did not work out. And then each season after that, because he was behind the 8 ball in terms of getting things done, he ended up making progressively crappier decisions, not because he wanted to, because he didn't really have any other options at that point, right? So defendable on a year-by-year basis, but what gets lost in that is a longer-term vision. Now, this is contradicting my own comments earlier on saying that you never know when you're going to get back to the finals. But in my opinion, you should be planning to try to get back to the finals every year, as many years as you possibly can, and be conservative with keeping talent on board as much as possible, and be careful with disrupting the chemistry that you have. Chemistry doesn't win basketball games, but it does keep teams together, which is the more important part. Right?
See the Golden State Warriors, Justin.
Exactly. So they are a very good example of what you would want to emulate in this era. Now, what we've seen from the Celtics is a cautious progression of using first-round draft picks under the new GM, Brad Stevens, who used to be their coach. And there was some concern he would be overly focused on winning now, which could make you think that this KD thing is more real than maybe it is. But when we look at what's been happening, we are seeing younger players who are still veterans come on that match the timelines of the Jays, right? And if you put yourself in a position to keep rolling talent forward in a way that actually, to go back to Danny Ainge, moving off of a player before it's too late to move off of a player, that was how he broke up the original big three, well, the new original big three of Garnett, Pierce, and Allen. So by doing that, he put himself in a position to win another championship down the road if things had panned out the way he had hoped. But again, sometimes things just don't work and there's nothing you can do about it, right? Players don't have to resign.
The universe has to align, brother. Everything has to come together for this to work. It's a beautiful thing, but we saw it. We see it happening in Oakland. It's the 3 core. It's a culture that's built. It's a consistency and ownership to want to be in the championship year after year. That is a top-down thing that we talk about, Rip, and it's happening. It's happening in Boston. All right, Justin, we're bringing on, we're going to get to this interview with Dee Brown here. I just going back in your head, though, that dunk, obviously, I mentioned in the intro. Any other memories come to mind when I just say the name Dee Brown in your head?
Well, for me, I was very excited that he was coming onto the Celtics. I thought that there was going to be more high-level competition in the short-term future. I wasn't a very astute fan of the game at that age. I'm only 46 now, going on 47. So I was old enough to remember the Larry Bird years, but I didn't really understand the game. I knew, you dribble, you shoot, it's fun, whatever, right? So I was really looking forward to Dee Brown kind of being like the future of the Celtics. And when he was traded away, that was when it really sunk in that it was time to become more of a fan of I grew up in Connecticut, so I became a fan of the UConn Huskies right as they started coming up.
Is it Khalid Al-Amin years there?
Absolutely. Even before that, going all the way back to the Tate George years and the cross-court Clemson shot that also shocked the world, just not as successfully.
Yeah, yeah. Well, there it is. Justin out there in Mexico City doing his things. One star listeners, if you're in Mexico City, follow this man on the Celtics wire. Shit, he might take you to get a potato and queso taco. He knows the best of them out there. Really good scene. An anthropologist who got into sports writing through getting warmed up for writing papers on Mayans, ruins, and dinosaurs. Justin, you're an amazing individual. We might have to have you back when we have, I don't know, anything come up. You're like a Renaissance man.
Anytime you want me, here I am.
There it is. Enjoy this interview with Boston Celtics great Dee Brown.
Now joining the One Star Recruits podcast, we have a husband, a father, a native of Jacksonville, Florida, a retired 12-year NBA veteran, and the current Senior Associate Athletic Director for University and Athletics Relations at Jacksonville University, Mr. Reebok OG himself, Dee Brown. Hey, thanks for hanging out with the One Stars, Dee.
Hey, man, appreciate the invite. I'm looking forward to it, and thanks again.
Hey, we love having you on. We remember, watching you growing up in the 90s. But I have a weird thing here. We've done over 100 interviews, Dee, and I've never asked this before. So I want your help with what to title this episode, because you're obviously most well known for winning that 91 slam dunk contest. But I didn't mention that in the intro on purpose, because I personally feel like it's a little disrespectful to your legacy to describe you as a slam dunk contest winner and nothing else, right? For anyone who watched the Celtics in the 90s, man, you were a baller. You scored at all three levels, 40-point games, 3-point shooting, and then you've done so much in the front offices. How would you like to be known? I need help titling the episode.
Oh man, that's a good question. Like, again, Duncan was part of when I first started as a rookie, winning the contest as a rookie, and then people, obviously, with the Reeboks and the contest and the no-look stuff, everybody, again, to this day, I have people who walk around, bend over, pump their shoes up, no matter what kind of shoes they got on, they'll pump them up, or put their arm over their eyes. If I get that once or twice a day, it's probably a low number, which is good. After 30 plus years, people still talk about it. It's very exciting. But again, like, I felt that I had a very, very, solid career. To me, the most important part was mentoring all the younger players that came after me, so if you want to say my career was about mentoring men, I think that was it, because I learned from some great men. When I got to the NBA, I was around Robert Parrish and, Dennis Johnson, Larry Bird, Mikhail, those guys, Red Auerbach. So I got a chance to be around some Hall of Fame players on a daily basis my first 8 years in the NBA. Where I was around 10 Hall of Fame players every day of my career, practices, games, events around the city of Boston. So I got a chance to learn how to be a vet early in my career. And to me, to be able to already go down my career and be around young guys who were rookies of mine, like, Tracy McGrady, Vince Carter, Mike Miller, just go down the list, Terrence Mann, Jokic, in Denver, like, those guys are all my rookies at some level or another in me as a player or coach. So I got a chance to spend time with these guys. So I like to think of myself as a mentor of men, and kind of hopefully I showed them how to do it the right way, how to respect the game, respect the fans, and again, be prepared for anything that came, if it's on the court or off the court. And again, being a husband, being a father, those things are very important to me.
Yeah, Dee, you're a Hall of Fame father, man. You have 3 daughters and a son. Of course, Lexi's doing her thing with the LA Sparks. Yes. Anakin, we're just gonna call him a young Jedi. He's a junior in high school. He's a hooper as well. Yeah. What's some advice you could give out there to young parents that you would have liked to have when you were starting out on your journey?
Do not live your dreams through your kids. Don't do that. That's killing their journey. That's killing their progress. That's killing their fun. The one thing I did with Lexi was I let her determine how good she wanted to be. And then I gave her all the tools and resources to be great. So until she said that I want to be the best basketball player that I can be, not the best player that you was, or Maya Moore, or, Sue Bird, the best player she can be, then I said, listen, okay, I will do everything in my possible as a father, as a former NBA player, as a trainer, as a skill developer, to make you the best player. And I did that for all my kids, whatever it was. Lexi had a way far better college career to me. She went to 2 Final Fours. She's a 3-time All-American. She got drafted in the first round. She won a championship last year with Chicago Sky. So she's blazed her path. And it was because I let her be her, not, it wasn't you're Dee Brown's daughter. It became, hey, you're Lexi Brown's dad. That's how good she got. And that was very, very humbling to me to hear that. That's what you want. You want your kids to be better than you, because I didn't live the things that I didn't achieve or want to achieve through my daughters, if it was high school, college, or pro. I got another daughter that plays at William and Mary. She's a junior and she's a solid player. I don't know if she has aspiration to play the next level, but she does. Then we'll prepare her for that. And then my son, Anakin, who obviously, he's a junior. I'm a Star Wars fan, as you can tell, with my son, Anakin, big Star Wars fan. And, he's got his challenges, and his challenges are going to be a little different than Lexi's, because he is a guy and people are going to compare him to me and want him to be better than me and be like me. But he has a totally different game. Again, he's way ahead of the curve and development than I was at his age. And that's all you want to see. Your kids be better than you, but on their own terms and the way they want to do it. And as parents, we just got to support them through thick and thin, good and bad, and know that, number one, you love them. And number two, you support everything they do.
And live your own life, Rip. Live your own life as an adult. Support your kids, but you can't be on everything that they're doing. That's good advice. I got to text Celtics since I got you here, D. Yeah. The Nets kind of put the Kevin Durant rumors to bed a little bit more today, but Jaylen Brown's name has been out there for a week. I know you've spoken with Jaylen, and in the past, you really you love what he does on the court, and kind of as how he's a conscious athlete as well. Rip mentioned earlier in this episode that the C's need to show a little bit of loyalty and kind of just, I think, do a little bit about what the Suns are doing a little bit and staying true to their core. Put your GM hat on for a minute, D. Are you entertaining trading Jaylen? Is Kevin Durant a guy you would give up the house for? What are some small additions or no additions the Celtics can make to be back in the finals this year?
I mean, it's tough. I mean, when a name like Kevin Durant comes up as a former GM in NBA and WNBA and G League, when a name comes like that, of that much that talent, forget about the contract and all that stuff, and how if he's disgruntled in Brooklyn. You've got to do your due diligence. That's just, you got to do your job. And you want to be as loyal as you can as GM, but you can't do the organization a disservice by not listening. And doesn't mean you're going to trade Jaylen or trade Jason or trade Marcus Smart. But again, the one thing I learned this from Kevin McHale a long time ago. Everybody's tradable. The right offer comes across, and you start thinking not everybody should be traded. Guys like LeBron and Giannis. I'll put Jason Tatum up there. You put certain guys up there that they're never up for discussion. And to me, Jaylen has earned that right. So I'll give him that. He has earned that right to be a guy in conversation that you don't entertain anything unless you're getting a person KD or higher caliber to replace him. And that's the loyalty part. The organizations give players contracts to fulfill, and they're guaranteed, and players need to fulfill their contracts. So you hate to hear your name up in trade rumors. I was in trade rumors later in my career, and I did get traded, and it's disheartening because you feel like you give everything you got to the organization. I was a captain there for 5 years, and I got traded. It was a big trade, and again, going in a different direction is what the organization tells you. Not something you did, but maybe a name that was a little more intriguing or hotter came across the board that they never thought would come across. But you hate to see it, because now you're in pretty much a mode with the Celtics of repairing that relationship.
There it is, D. It's really interesting to hear from an insider, because you're right. On one hand, you're saying it's a business. On the other hand, it's saying it does affect me as a human being, like any human being, when my name is being discussed, maybe in a way that could be negative, tradable. Sometimes it's negative. It's great advice. It's one of the better breakdowns that I've heard so far.
Well,
let's talk a little bit about.
Hold on. Here's the other thing with that. Here's the other thing with that, and it's important. Being associated with a person like Kevin Durant is not a disrespect. If he was getting traded for Kevin Hart, then that's different. No
disrespect to Kevin Hart.
He ain't Kevin Durant, and he ain't Jaylen Brown. So again, let's be realistic. Like, when I got traded for, it was a three-way trade. Me, Damon Stoudemire, and Kenny Anderson. Those guys are really good NBA players. I was part of a huge trade that year. So again, be wary of your value, because your value is as much as somebody's going to give you. And if they're going to give you Kevin Durant for Jaylen Brown, you got to think long and hard, not disrespecting Jaylen's game, because to me, he's an all-star player for a long period of time, can help the Seas win a championship, which I want to see again. But you being in that conversation with a guy like that means you've done something in your career already. That's
right, bro. And Kenny Anderson, former one-star guest here, not too shabby to get traded for a guy like that. One of the better point guards to do it. Exactly. One of the better cities in the South, man. It's a place a lot of people sleep on. Jacksonville, Florida. It's where you're at today. It's your hometown. It's what you started your hoops kind of career there. Yeah. You've been back on campus for a couple of weeks. What's it like being back on campus down there? You get down to St. Augustine to the beach at all?
Yeah. Well, I live at the beach, so it's always good to be at the beach. I mean, I love Jacksonville. It's home. I went to high school here, and my son goes to the same high school I went to. So again, just trying to build his own legacy. But it's great being back on campus. Our fall sports are starting. We got volleyball and soccer going on, and our basketball team did very well last year. So they'll start up in a month or so with Midnight Madness and those kind of events that every school does around the country. So it's exciting to be back on campus. A lot of things are different, but they stay the same. You walk around, you see some of the same buildings. Hopefully I don't run into some of the professors I had. A couple of, if they're still around, that's not a good thing. But it's good to kind of put your input and your expertise, and obviously being a former student athlete here and played here, and then all of a sudden just being part of just seeing how college it works now. It's different. You got NIL stuff that you're dealing with. Making sure our kids are mentally healthy, and their wellness program is great. So to be a part of that development of these student athletes and just a student body has been very, very, it's been very rewarding for me. Being an NBA in the front office for the last 18 years after I retired, coming back to the college level, it feels good to be able to impact these young adults at this level.
It's kind of full circle, and like we talked about at the beginning, how would you like to be known? It lets you put that mentor hat on and help kind of those guys at that situation you've been in before. So. Yeah. Hey, Dee, we end every interview with the segment we call 1 star to 5 star. We mentioned, man, we're 1 stars. We're trying to get better with advice and tips from every guest we have on this podcast. So I want to ask you a few more questions, and we're going to use a 1 to 5 star scale, 1 being the lowest, 5 being the highest.
Okay. Sounds good.
All right. So being both a point guard and a shooting guard in the league, your attention is probably focused on the 1s and 2s when you look at the game today. Mm-hmm. There's really some really good guard combos going in the NBA right now. Yeah. And I want to hear the best in your opinion. We got Young and Murray now teaming up down in Atlanta. Yeah. We got a bunch of other star point guards. What are the top 3, let's say 5-star backcourts in the NBA right now?
Well, you're going to start with Steph and anybody. It was almost like the Michael Jordan conversation. Who's the best backcourt in history? Is Michael Jordan, whoever he played with. Like that was always the best backcourt. Yeah. Right now, Steph has put himself on that level with him, Steph and Clay. Clay getting healthy. I'm gonna go with Steph and Clay number 1. It's hard for me to after that because it's so many great young combinations. I like Trae Young. I haven't seen him play with Murray yet, Murray yet. So I'm looking forward to seeing him. He had a great year in San Antonio, so that's a good. Put him up there. I'm gonna put Ja up there and Desmond Bane. I think they did a really good job in their backcourt. I think they're up and coming to be a good backcourt. Man, that's a good question because so many young backcourts. I'm gonna give you a sleeper. I'm gonna give you the Houston backcourt. I'm gonna give you Jalen Green and Kevin Porter Jr.
The young guns, right?
The young guns. I think last year was a learning experience. It was very humbling for them. I'm gonna give them, a 3.5, 4 star because I think they learned what it takes to be a pro on an everyday basis and getting your head beat in every day. It's the quickest way to learn in the NBA. Like you say, you win or you learn. And they lost a lot, but I think they learned a lot as well. So I'm gonna give that to them. And then the other last group is I'm gonna go with them just because I work with them for a lot of years. Chris Paul and Devin Booker. I love Chris. I've worked with him for 3 or 4 years in LA with the Clippers. And Devin's coming to his own. He's a superstar. They came up a little short last year after getting to the finals 2 years ago. But Those are probably the five groups, based on some young people who are trying to make a mark. But the two veteran groups with Chris and Devin, and then also obviously Steph and Clay. And again, LeBron is like a semi point guard, but it's I can't put him and Russ together yet. I got to see a little bit more continuity and consistency between both of them for a longer period of time to put him up there. But LeBron is, whatever position he plays, usually is the best in that position when he wants to play it.
I love that answer. You covered a lot of them, and you actually I like how you started with Steph, because probably best player in the game right now.
Yeah.
And when you were playing in the Eastern Conference, you matched up pretty often with MJ, and you talked about it a little bit there. Yeah. You guys never played in the playoffs, I don't think, but so we didn't see you in the Last Dance as far as I can remember.
Yeah, well, the funny part is the to me the best backcourt to me that I played against on a consistent basis was Isaiah Thomas, Joe Dumars. Because when I got in the league, they were the champions still. So during that Last Dance, we were supposed to play the Bulls in that conference finals game, and we lost to Detroit the year that Isaiah and them walked off the court. Larry had hurt his back, so we're really the team to beat. I mean, MJ and them, they passed us late in the season to get home court advantage, but we're the second best team in the East that year, not the Pistons, and they beat us in games. I think Game 7 to get a chance to play Chicago, and they walked off the court, and that's kind of how that whole story started with Michael winning his first championship. So, Isaiah and Joe Dumars was, they're two-time back-to-back champion. They were tough during my day as well.
Yeah, I think I read a stat the other day that was like they were one of the only teams to make it to the Eastern Finals 5 years in a row or something like that. It's crazy.
And the team with Chauncey Billups and Rip Hamilton did it again. So great backcourts. You just talked about two different generations.
Great Pistons team, kind of passed the torch over to MJ a little bit. What did you have? So many moments guarding Mike, during your career in the regular season. Is there kind of like a 1-star story you can relate to just put his greatness on display? I mean, did he ever put up like 60 on your teams? Or
no, I wasn't there when he put up 60. Obviously, he put up 63 against the Celtics in a playoff game before I got there. I think the biggest story with him was that he knew every time he stepped on the court, guys were trying to make a reputation off him. He didn't let it happen. Like you don't hear too many stories from former players go, I got the best of Michael Jordan. I kicked his A.
Yeah.
You don't really hear those stories. You might hear that nowadays from players that, outscored LeBron, outscored, Kobe when he played. But you don't hear those stories about Michael because he played at a level where he knew that he didn't like lose at anything. And every game to him was like a Game 7, which he never went to in the finals, which is another remarkable stat. But I think that was the biggest takeaway I had from him, that his competitive nature, no matter who he played, was like unparalleled. If he was playing the worst team in the league or the best team at the league at that time, who they thought was the best team to maybe try to challenge them for the crown, he played that same passion and level and intensity every time he stepped on the court. And that's a player to be that great. You don't see that a lot, but he did it all the time.
Do you ever take any money on the golf course from Mike?
No, I never. I think I played golf with Mike one time, and you heard a big bank, little bank. I didn't. That's called financial literacy, baby. Know your limitations, baby. Play for fun with him. That's it.
All right, we got two more for you, D. We talked about your no-look dunk back in 1991. It was 5-star from the story of how it happened to the memory it kind of created. Like you mentioned, 30 years later, you're still getting talked about. If you look at the dunk contest now, it's way different. It's been around for so long, and I feel like every dunk has been done. Do you ever think about like the creativity involved now? I know you couldn't use props back then, but if there's one dunk that you haven't seen at this point and you'd like to see, what would it be?
The funny part is that every dunk has been done, but you got to look at these, if you go on social media, you see all these guys who are dunkers now, that's all they do. And I've seen some crazy dunks, and I've been at events where I was a judge or hosted some shows that just did dunks. And I've seen some dunks that NBA players, for whatever reason, if scared to do it, liability reasons, just don't want to try. It's been so many dunks. I would love to see between the legs twice in the air. I've seen somebody try it and get really close. That's been a dunk that I would love to see. I've seen, like I said, a lot of guys who are just, they go around the country and do dunks.
Who do you think could pull that off in the league, right? Who do you have your eye on that could do that right now? You got to have long legs, I feel like.
I think the one person could probably do it. You almost have to be a 1 foot jumper to do it. So that's kind of tough. I think if Zach LaVine really wanted to do it and was healthy, he could do it. Because he's just long legs, long arms, has a bounce off 1 foot or 2 foot. The other one I'd love to see would be a true 720.
Ooh.
I think Ja could do that because of his speed and rotation. To be able to spin around twice real quick and dunk it. I think he'd be one of the guys who I think could do it. 720. That's asking a lot.
Those are next level. Yeah, that's like they get better with time. But all right, last one. We mentioned you're a Jacksonville native. DK and I love to hear about food spots in cities that we haven't spent a lot of time in, like Jacksonville.
Yeah.
And we don't hear a lot about the Jacksonville restaurant scene. So I want you to shine a light on it for a second. What's the 5-star restaurant for Jacksonville native Dee Brown that you tell everyone about who visits the 904?
Oh, that's a good one. I'm a organic food eater. I try to be gluten-free and grain-free and dairy-free. So my choices are maybe a little limited, but there's a lot of places, especially out here because we're on the beach. There's a lot of great seafood spots. There's a place out in Ponte Vedra Beach called Nona Blue that's really good. Has a little bit of everything. Great TVs. You can see everything. You can watch the game, get you some good seafood. Anything that's seafood related at the beach is great. So Nona Blue is a great place. The fish camp, it's just like right on the river that has everything. There's a couple places that, again, seafood's big here, especially the Mayport crabs, it's a big thing here. So those couple places at the beach are really good. I'm always, I'm very, very a stickler for a good pizza. I love pizza. I'm not a deep dish pizza person. There's a
thin crust.
I'm a thin crust, brick oven type of thing. And there's some great pizza places here. One's called Al's Pizza that's right down the street from my high school that, I used to frequent. And that's a top spot that, again, great for families, great for, if you want really good, authentic pizza. Another pizza place that is great. That's a guy from Brooklyn he's a huge Knicks fan, but I convinced him to put a Celtics jersey up in his restaurant, which was like crazy. Serafina's, you got to go to Serafina's. Great pizza place. Yeah, it's in St.
Did
John's
you bring that
County.
New York water in to make the dough?
Oh man, it tastes like where you can go on the street, baby. It's good. So those are my places. Some good seafood. Some good seafood places at the beach, and then good pizza places in the city.
I love that. Jacksonville native, Celtics great. Everyone go follow this man on Instagram. It's at Dee Brown _OG. Dee, let the listeners know anything else you have going on that you want to promote. I know you're still rocking the Reebok pumps, like you said.
Yeah.
And some of those new colorways, man, are looking really nice.
Yeah. Still with Reebok. We're still pushing out, pumps, different colorways, very excited about that. The biggest thing with me is just, I just want people to just keep really, really focusing on themselves, really growing mentally and what I say, you have to be an honest broker with yourself. You have to do the right things for the right reasons. If you do that, I think a lot of things that we're going through on so many levels, not just sports, but in life, we have to care about each other again. We have to really start listening and caring about each other. That's important to me. I got, kids that are growing up to be adults. I'm getting older, and all you want to do is leave the world a better place than when you left it. And if we can think that way, if you're a sports fan and rooting for your team, football season coming up, and go Jaguars and go Patriots, because I got a split allegiance there with both of them. I'm just looking forward to just people kind of caring about each other a little bit more than we've had over the last couple of years, and just be excited about life. It's the biggest thing for me.
D, you've kept Rip and I are from a small town in Arizona, and we grew up looking up to you way up in Boston. It might have been through the NBA Jam video game. Well, it might have been through the dunk, but you're a part of pop culture. You're part of growing up and why we love sports and why we love NBA basketball to this day. So we thank you so much, man.
No, I appreciate you guys.
All right, fact check, Rip, right off the bat, really fast. I said NBA Jam at the end of that Dee Brown interview with him. Producer Winston looked it up. Dee was not a starter in the original 1993 Midway Classic Jam that dropped. Do you know, Rip, who was on the original Boston Celtics NBA Jam starting lineup?
Reggie Lewis, I vividly remember on there.
Yep.
All right. I do not remember. I'm gonna say like, was it like someone crazy like Dino Raja or something like that?
Dino was on the squad. We got Keith Smith. Keith, you remember the second player besides Reggie Lewis who was a starter in 1993?
It was either Kevin McHale or Sherman Douglas.
Great names, brother. Kevin McHale, you nailed it. Ding, 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 nailed it. The second year, D took on a bigger role. I think it was Tournament Edition when the arcade mode dropped, and it was great names. The X-Man, Xavier McDaniel, excuse me. We got our guy Dee Brown, Kevin Gamble.
Yeah.
We got Dominique Wilkins was a Celtics for all you guys around the world who might have forgot that man was a Celtics. Number 12, right, Keith?
Yep.
So little fact check before we get into it. But look, we're mixing up all the best Celtics talent from around the globe on this episode is really what we're doing. Keith, we got with us. He writes for a variety of outlets, including the Celtics blog and the Front Office Show. Another angle on the Boston Celtics and the NBA as a whole. Keith, welcome, my man.
Hey, thank you. I appreciate you guys having me.
Hey, great to have you, man. It's funny. I was checking out your Twitter and I was getting pumped too this morning. Rip was on. We're all excited about the Phoenix Suns bringing back the Hardwood Classic 93 Charles Barkley Sun jersey, man. Straight fire, right? You agree?
Yeah, absolutely. Those are some of my favorite old school jerseys too. Like that slanted like logo and everything. Like, yeah, just looks good. Looks clean. It's going to be a lot of fun.
I hope they do the warm-ups too. It was a black pants with the white top, and it was just a really Rip that gets Charles Barkley. Obviously, I think Dan Marley. I actually think Elliot Perry socks. Classic J's. Rip, you're pumped too, just as pumped as Keith and I.
I'm pumped. It makes me feel old, but to seeing those guys, like they incorporate those older guys into the promos. Like I saw Marley on there, that they threw some Tim Kempton. Those guys. It's cool to see them bringing back KJ. So I like when they do that stuff.
Oh yeah, former Sacramento Mayor Kevin Johnson. The Celtics have some timeless jerseys. Really, they're classics. I respect that they've done it. What team? The modern jerseys I do like. I think there's been some tweaks. What besides the Celtics, Keith? And I know you're probably a big fan. You like the green or the whites, the Ways or the Homes?
Either one is fine with me as long as that's it. I don't want any other versions. I will say the black with the green trim has grown on me. And if they want to wear those every once in a while, that's fine with me. But the classic green and white, that's all I want to see. These slightly off green ones with these goofy logos that look like it was Patty O'Brien's failed Irish pub down the road that's now been 6 other restaurants. Like I don't need those. Like get those out of here, all the way out of here.
Leave that shit to the Timberwolves, man. This is the Boston Celtics we're talking about. We got to keep it clean. Rip, what team besides the Phoenix Suns, and I know we go back and forth on if we like their jerseys or not, what team do you think has the best jerseys currently, Rip, in the league?
Man,
just aesthetics, design. It hits your eyes nice. I know you just bought your kid a Banchero jersey shirt. Please don't say the Magic, home of Keith Smith.
Dude, I'm about beauties and the simplicity. Like I could say Orlando, but I like the Charlotte ones, man. I like the old school Hornets ones, the pinstripe, and it's just very simple. You don't have too much going on. I'm just a beauty and the simplicity guy. Cleveland Browns, like I love those jerseys. Yeah,
the Hardwood Classics get me. I like the Denver Nuggets, the Kiki Vandaway. I like the colors. I like the designs, those would be my throwbacks. Good times. Look at this jersey talk right off the bat. We've got the Celtics expert. We're talking about Suns jerseys, Rips. 1 stars, bro. 1 stars. But we're happy to be here. I want to talk a little bit. I love the front office stuff that you kind of mess with, Keith. I think you have an interesting angle on it. The Danny Ainge era was a roller coaster ride for good and bad. He's in Salt Lake City now doing Danny Ainge things, which is also fun for the league. Totally fun. We saw kind of a move early as soon as he got there. And now we're in the Brad Stevens era. He's running the show from the outside looking in. Looks like great moves. Look like we're building a deep team built to compete for playoff basketball down the lines. Are you a Brad Stevens guy? We got the stamp of approval from Keith Smith.
Yeah, I am. I was a big fan of Brad as the coach, and just as big a fan as him as the general manager. I think he's done a really good job. I think you're seeing Danny Ainge, for my money, went too far on the hoarding the draft picks, where it was, no, we're not going to throw an extra pick in there in these trades. And I think it held back the team a little bit from what could have been some really, really big time teams, maybe even could have won titles. And I think Brad has come in with the attitude of, I'm not going to give them all away. Like we see, when for a little while there, it was very popular to have the coach GM be the same person. And I don't think that works because those two jobs are always at odds. It's the coach wants to win today, and the GM's going to focus on today and tomorrow and down the line. And I think Stevens has come in with the attitude of, all right, I can see what we need. I'm going to get us some help now, but I'm not going to completely mortgage the future. I'm not going to trade, every pick we have under the sun. But yeah, 1 first-round pick, not the end of the world. We'll get a guy in here. I think he also realizes too, the team's pretty good. So whoever they're trading for is probably going to end up being better than whoever it is they draft with the 25th to 30th pick anyway.
I love it. What stands out to you as a miss during that Ainge era that could have been a championship team? What's the first one that comes to your head?
Yeah, I think probably that first good team with Tatum and Brown on it. That team, they think they just kept holding out hope that maybe Gordon Hayward would make it back by the end of the year after that leg injury. And then that became clear that wasn't going to happen. And then unfortunately they lost Kyrie during that year. And they didn't do enough to bolster that team. And I think people forget now that team was up in the fourth quarter, late in the fourth quarter on LeBron and the Cavs in game 7. And, with one more veteran who had been there, because it was really by that point in the season, it was Tatum and Brown kind of leading that team. And that was Tatum's rookie year and Brown's second year. And it was, that was tough. And then next year was just too much of a good thing. They had 12 guys who all wanted to play, needed to play. And, that's just too many guys to have at once. So that I think is one miss there that stands out a little bit.
Yeah, veterans, man. The missing thing is veterans. You're up in the fourth quarter. That's veteranship. And I think they've done a good job. We're in awe of the quick offseason moves, and we talked about it on the front end, so we're not going to hang on that too long. But those were good, quick moves to bring in some veterans leaders in spots that they need to compete in the playoffs. It's like, holy shit, we are seeing it clearly now in Boston. They're going to be a contender, man. This is good. Rip, any other questions you have outstanding for Boston? We get cleared up with Keith before we can start talking some Disney movies. Anything on your mind that still is overhanging in your head that you want to get cleared up with the Boston Celtics offseason?
I guess not specific to this offseason, but for Keith, I mean, he's been around the Celtics for a long time. What's your favorite Dee Brown memory? I mean, everyone looks at the slam dunk contest, the no look dunk, but for you, like, is there something that sticks out about Dee Brown's career? Because those Celtics teams weren't very good for the most part when he was playing, but he stayed for quite a while.
No, definitely. I think people forget how long he was with the Celtics too.
It was 8 years. Yeah.
Yeah, I think probably for me, if it's a single moment, sure, the slam dunk contest definitely stands out. I think that's there for everybody. But I think it's more of just the fact that this guy came in to a team that was on the very back end of that kind of dynasty group with Bird and McHale and Parrish and all that. And it was, he came in as, what is he going to be? I remember he was a late first round pick at the time. And it was, there was no internet. So we had to believe kind of what we could read in the paper and what we could, read in the magazines and see on TV. And there were a lot of people who were like, oh, this kid is super duper athletic. And it was like, man, that's what we need on this team, because it was kind of the only athletes they had at that time was Reggie Lewis. And then they had Dee Brown, because unfortunately, Len Bias a handful of years earlier had passed away before he ever gets to play for the team. So it was this infusion of athleticism. And it was this thought of, all right, he's going to come in, he's going to be that kind of jolt energy that the team needs. And he was that. And then I think it's kind of been forgotten a little bit too. He became a pretty good player on some teams that they weren't title contenders, but they were still good. They were still making the playoffs. And then obviously everything went sideways when Reggie passed. And that was just that at that point, it was, as we call it, we went into the dark ages of the Celtics, there for several years. And that was tough. And then ultimately Dee got caught up in that. He got caught up in Patino coming in. Patino at first was, I remember a lot of, we're going to re-energize Dee Brown and the way we're going to attack and press and all these things. He's going to be a big part of it. And I don't know, we're 40, 50 games into that season. And Dee was a throw-in on the end of the Chauncey Billups trade, which was, gave up on Chauncey Billups before his rookie season was, even, maybe a little over half over. And that was that was the end of it. But yeah, I think Dee was a better player on some better teams than a lot of people remember.
Mm-hmm. And a great leader, especially moving into later in his career. And this goes on to what he's doing now. He's got one of his 3 kids as a professional basketball player. He's back in Jacksonville helping out. I think some of that stuff you learn that shit in the dark ages sometimes. Rip and I are Phoenix Suns fans. We were in the dark ages for a long time here, even in the 2000s. We're back now. We're back feeling it though. But yeah, great take, brother. Great take. So listeners, for all the 1-stars out there who don't know, we got a man here. Keith has been 20 years at Disney, which is interesting. I love the late pivot and I love the passion follow, brother. But we are big Disney fans here. Rip's got 2 kids. He's starting the Disney introduction. I know he's a Disneyland guy, big summer pass, or not even annual pass, right, Rip?
Annual pass, yeah.
Yeah, so you're in it completely. So I want to get top Disney movies. You can do top 3 that Rip needs to share with his kids. Keith, what do you got?
We're and I assume we're talking like the animated movies.
I think they all have great lessons. You mix it up for him, brother.
Let's go. We'll stick with the animated movies because those will be the ones that'll come primarily to mind. Actually, I'm going to throw one non-animated one in there. My all-time favorite animated Disney movie is Robin Hood. The one where Robin Hood is a fox. There, all the characters are animals. Fantastic movie, fun. It's short, so you're not going to be sitting down for any kind of epic viewing here. I'll throw you a non-animated one that I've watched a million times. That was a great
sales job, by the way, Keith, of selling it to a parent. I thought it was quick, and he said all the magic words that hit all the spots for Rip. Animals, and it's short. It was great. Yes. Onward.
Yeah. I'll give you the non-animated one. I watched this a million times when I was a kid, Swiss Family Robinson. Huge. Again, got some animals in there, and again, it's shorter than I remembered it being when I was a kid. But yeah, it's good. And then the last one, I'm going to give you more. Not, I don't think depending on the age of the audience here, not necessarily new, but newer Toy Story. You can't go wrong with Toy Story, and the whole Toy Story franchise is fantastic.
So great. Yeah, I think I once a couple birthday parties, Rip, we were doing Toy Story characters, but those first 2, Rip, are those new to you? Are those ones you're going to introduce?
I was expecting like Encanto, some of the more popular ones lately, but yeah, I mean Robin Hood is a great suggestion. It's short. My kids are 4 and 6, so I might put that on this week.
They like animals. I know one of your younger likes animals. Rip is a good match right there. That's why we do this podcast, listeners. We're helping out here. Got a couple of dads going. Keith's picking up his kids. He's doing soccer practice, and he's writing about Celtics basketball. Man, where did your love, Keith, come for Celtics basketball? As far as I'm going to start putting my thoughts into the world.
2 completely different places. My love for the team. I grew up just south of Boston. And I grew up in the 80s and 90s. So it was the Larry Bird teams were my teams growing up. And there was no way that I wasn't going to be a Celtics guy. And there was my family was not hockey people at all. So there was never a chance that was going to happen. The Patriots were awful for the vast majority of the time I was a kid. They made a couple runs to the Super Bowl. But for the most part, they were pretty bad. And then I wasn't a big baseball kid until I got a little older. But basketball, instantly, I fell in love with the game, fell in love with Larry Bird. And then writing about the sport, for me, my entrance point was much later in life, started as just a hobby. And I started out writing about the salary cap and roster management and those kind of things. That's what I did initially. And then that led to some other things. And then kind of on the side, I was half covering the Celtics, and they had an opportunity to add folks to the team at Celtics blog with SB Nation, and they reached out, and we made it happen. I've been there for I think this is going to be my 7th season now.
Nice.
That I've been covering the team with Celtics blog. So yeah,
I love it for people who are listening to, who are later in life or in their careers or whatever, and are passionate about this. Get that engine revved up. I apologize, Keith, that you're now on the 1-star recruits. This might be the beginning of this downfall for trajectory wise, as far as media goes. But brother, it's really great. And I think I think that's a great story to tell people out there listening. It's kind of just get started, sit down and throw it on some paper and see where the world takes you, man.
Best piece of advice, Keith, for someone in their 30s, 40s looking to make a career pivot to something they might, be more of a hobby or a passion for them. Best piece of advice you've learned over the last 10 years or so.
If you are in a position to still take care of all the things you need to take care of, do it. Don't be afraid. That was I waited probably about 3 years longer than I probably could have to do this, simply because I was afraid. I'd had a 20-year career with Disney by the time I left, and it was probably around year 17 into that I was like, I kind of want to do the sports thing, and really it had become I was doing 2 full-time jobs. I was I'd cover games until here on the East Coast till about 1:30, 2 in the morning. Get about a 3 or 4 hour nap in, get up and get my daughter off to school and go into the office all day until 5 or so, 6 o'clock, and then get her off to practice and then sit down and cover games again. And it was really tough. It was all my vacation time was being used to go to things like summer league, make sure I was home during trade deadline week, those kind of things, to make sure I was going to be covering that. There were a lot of meetings where it was hey, I gotta step out and take a call real quick from my Disney time to touch base with somebody about something going on with basketball. And so it was it was one of those things where it was I should have done it earlier, but I was nervous because I had this really great career in this sports media world can be tough. It's not the easiest thing to do at times, and you're going to hear a lot of no's. And then when I did choose to leave, I left and literally to do this just full time. Solely, basketball is going to be my job. 3 days later, the NBA season shut down in 2020 because of the pandemic. So it was
that'll make you think twice.
It was one of those things where it's like, what did I do? Like,
what am I doing?
I left a 20-year career behind to do this, and all those things. Unfortunately, it was we had a couple tough years there, but it all came out on the other side and all worked out okay. So I tell people all the time, as long as you can still pay your bills and take care of your family, and they're not going to have to sacrifice any of the things they want to do, just do it, make it happen.
You're doing it, bro, and you're super talented. And I'm so happy that you made the transfer and we get to read your pieces and keep up. And you got an interesting look at it because I like it. There's lots of people who think that they know the numbers and the back end and the Daryl Morey stuff of the NBA once you get into kind of the craziness back in there. And there's not a lot of great experts out there. And I think you're one of them putting out really good stuff, especially around the Celtics. Listeners, if you ever go to Portland, Maine, that's where the Maine Red Claws play. They're the G League team of.
They're the Maine Celtics now, unfortunately.
They're the Maine. Oh, okay. They're the Maine Celtics now.
I wish they were still the Red Claws.
You ever go up there? You ever go cover? It's a phenomenal.
I've been up there a couple times.
You've been there a couple times,
but it's been a while.
Phenomenal food city, Rip. Slept on Food City, Portland, Maine. I didn't even know till I got there to see a game, and then it's another opportunity to see pro basketball. I'm not sure, Keith. Tell me, do they still play in that small gym? Maybe 1,500 people.
Yeah, probably fits a couple thousand, I think. But yeah,
a couple thousand. Great place, great road trip. If you're just want to do a winter road trip and you're in Boston, head up to Maine. Let's wrap this up. We do Recs of the Week, we call them at the end of every episode. We do anything that's made our life a little bit better this week. Anything. We're 1 star, so they're totally normal, everyday things. I'll start and I'll let Rip go second. So you can bring us home, Keith. My rec of the week this week is TV. I'm going back to it. It's always my when I have a lazy week, I go to TV, but this one is a must share. If you haven't seen the Manti Te'o documentary on Netflix, it is 1000% must see TV. It is a UFC fight. You are up in your seat the entire 2 hours into this story, and it's like nothing I've ever heard before. The beautiful thing is it's actually told by all of the players in the Manti Te'o saga. Up until this point, I've heard everything separately from different areas, and it's became a tall tale. I live in Hawaii, so it's almost a little bit more of a tall tale here. This doc put it together a little bit more. And at the end of it, all your feelings come out because you really feel sorry for Manti and the way that everything played out. But also, we live in a wild world. Life is crazy. People do crazy things. And if you want to be entertained for 2 hours, Manti Te'o documentary on Netflix, check it out. Rip, hit it.
Dude, we both got Netflix this week, DK. I don't give a lot of TV recs because I don't watch a lot of TV, but I came across this is actually a Boston girl, Mindy Kaling from The Office. Everyone knows her. She's had a few hits lately, but one of the ones she's working on now is a Netflix show. It's called Never Have I Ever. It's kind of like a high school like dating drama, but it's hilarious, man. I love her humor, her sense of humor. It's actually narrated by Andy Samberg, and it's on season 3 on Netflix. Go check it out. It's called Never Have I Ever. If you like Mindy Kaling, like I said, she's a Boston native, I believe, grew up in Cambridge, I think. But go check that show out on Netflix. Never Have I Ever. Damn,
Reb, what you sit with your lady and watch that, or that's you by yourself at night after you put the kids to sleep?
No, I watched it with my wife the other day. I watched one episode and I'm hooked, man. I want to see all 3 seasons now.
You kind of like the cheesiest TV ever, but I bet you it's good. I bet you it's better than I think. I'm such a child. I need to be immediately entertained with action and adventure. Keith, recommendation of the week. What's made you feel good this week? Anything?
Well, I don't know that it necessarily made me feel good. Well, it did make me feel good, but I'm going to stick with TV. House of the Dragon. Back to the Game of Thrones world, back to Westeros. But much like a lot of people, I was a little disappointed in the way things wrapped up with the original Game of Thrones, but this one started and I was ready to go back. We're ready to jump right back.
It landed. It held. Sometimes these don't hold up to the hype. This first episode did.
It did. Yeah, I really enjoyed it. So I'm excited to see where it goes from here. So it's and I think they have more of a roadmap to follow. They're not making it up as they go on the last couple of seasons of Game of Thrones. So hopefully we stick with that.
Everyone's talking about that show. I saw it's like a 20-second video clip on Instagram taken outside of an apartment building in New York. I think it was like a 12-story apartment building. Like 80% of the TVs were watching that show while it was on.
Yeah, it's one of those things. I feel like since Game of Thrones ended, we haven't had like appointment television where it's like you got to sit down and watch at this one 9:00 Eastern on Sundays, and I kind of like being back there again and experiencing it with the world in real time, and that because especially once the basketball season starts, everything is like, oh hey, we have a free weekend, like let's start the backlog of DVR shows for us, because once the season starts, it's all basketball all the time.
It's on. Keith is serious, man, out there in Orlando, traveling up and down the coast, man. A lot of fun. Where can people find you? Let's give a shout out for all the listeners so they can find you, keep up with everything C's. What's the handle?
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter at Keith Smith NBA. Everything's there. All my work there. If you're looking for salary cap roster stuff, over at Spot Track. I do a lot of the NBA work over there. And then Celtics blog is part of SB Nation, celticsblog.com. All the Celtics stuff. I'll be coming back. I was on a little bit of a break, just kind of fitting in that mini vacation here in the never-ending news cycle of the NBA. But yeah, be back up and running there in just a few days. So yeah.
He's back. Let's go. If I have a layover in Orlando and I got an hour and a half that I can hop in an Uber and go do something, what's the one spot I got to go do or see? One spot.
Your challenge is you gave me a very short amount of time.
I'm gonna give you 3 hours. I'm gonna give you 3 hours. 3 hours.
You can do 3 hours. As much as I love Disney, there's just too much to do in that short of time. Head over to Universal Studios. Grab yourself a pass, run in and see the Harry Potter world.
Okay,
run in and check it out because it is. Yeah, they did well with it. I'll say my brethren at Disney would have done better, but they did pretty good with that. And you do feel pretty immersed in things there. So yeah,
bonus rec of the week.
Bonus rec of the week. Double bonus rec of the week. If I go to Disneyland and slept on listeners, you know this. The food is actually way better than you would think. It's just priced appropriately, but a food item that I may have not gotten at Disneyland that I need to check out next time I go.
If you're going to Disneyland in California, they have the best corn dogs I've ever had in my life.
Heard that
they're
before.
Massive.
Heard that from
we were there the other night, and it was like 11 o'clock after all the shows. There was a line of about 25 people in the car. I'm like, who the hell is eating a corn dog at 11 o'clock? There's about 25 people in line.
They're so good.
So good. That's like the Taco Bell at Disneyland. That's how you shut that shit down. Wonderful podcast, fellas. Thank you so much. Celtics fans, go find Keith. Enjoyed every second of this conversation. We're in Boston. We're doing kind of this tour around the nation. So we're going to keep this thing moving. I think we're going to go down south. We actually got a rapper. We're going to go to the music industry next week. So we'll be back with you next week. Rip, bring us home. Anything else? Anything else you want to send out to the world, baby?
Yeah, it's like Dee Brown said, over the last 4 to 6 years, there's been a lot of drama in this world, in the U.S., and let's just do better to be our best, man. Let's just keep it moving and just get a little bit better every day, and with your attitude, with how you treat people, and good things will happen.
To preach on, do a good deed. Give us 5 stars on however you're listening to this podcast. That's the only way of saying thank you. We'll keep bringing badass people to you. I'm done. I'm out of content. I can feel my talking over my words at this point in time. Keith, you're a legend, man. Thank you for joining us. Go Celtics.
DK, I want to do a quick flashback because this is helpful for Celtics fans too that are new to our pod and want to listen to more episodes. We had Taco Fall on for a great interview back in March of this year, 2022. Celtics fan legend. He's now working his way through the G League to try to get up to another squad, but he gave us some thoughts on who's the leader in the Celtics locker room. So I'm going to play that clip. You want to listen to the full interview with Taco, go to One Star Recruits on any of the major podcast platforms. It's from March 2022. Here's the clip with Taco Fall talking about the Celtics leadership. See you next week.
Who's the heart of that Celtics locker room? You spent some time with all of them.
I would name a few guys. I mean, obviously Smart has to be one of the most important, players on the team. He's just his voice, his presence, it just brings a lot to the team, and I've got to see it firsthand. The other guy that I've say just took another step and became really important for that team is Rob. Just seeing Rob's development, it's just crazy, and how he helps anchor that defense is really good to see. And the other guy that I've been really, really proud of is Grant. Yeah, because Grant took a lot of shit.